Okay, so once we have done our brainstorming and we're gonna pretend that this is completely filled in and totally beautiful, then we can move on to creating our basic outline. Now, once again, as you've seen so far, the creation of our topic sentence and our argument, our brainstorming, all this should be on note paper. Initially, your very first outline that you create probably also needs to be just sketched on note paper because I want it for you to still be fluid. I need you to get your ideas on the page, but it doesn't need to be perfect or pretty or perfectly formatted. I would like you to work on lettering and numbering, but ultimately it's more important to get your ideas on the page and then start working through them than it is to go ahead and start worrying about things like heading and header and all that stuff. So the first thing that we need to remember is that we have formulated our argument. So we have Central Piedmont Community College has many resources to help students be successful. So as we go ahead and we start formulating our outline, this is absolutely the first sentence of your outline that should be written in complete form and all the way out. The rest of your outline should be a fragment or a phrase, but your topic sentence should be a complete sentence, and in your final draft of your outline, your conclusion sentence should be a complete sentence. So as I begin to formulate this, let's go ahead and continue. Let's do purple. Okay. So for the purpose of this lecture, because we're doing a paragraph and a paragraph is a piece of a bigger essay, we're going to go ahead and number it and label it as a paragraph hierarchy within an essay. So typically, we're going to pretend that you've already created your thesis for your essay, and this is your first body paragraph, which would technically be paragraph 2 in your essay and would be Roman numeral 2. So if this is your second paragraph in your essay, but it's your first body paragraph, then it would be Roman numeral 2. Now, again, we're sketching this on paper, so it will go through some transition, but we're just getting, again, on the page, except for the topic sentence, we're going to go ahead and put it in. So bear with me. Now again, while you're working through your own paper, you can easily pause this video and work through the creation of your own topic sentence as well, and then start it back up as you go and literally just mimic the same steps. So notice here again we have our number 1, which is our topic. We have has many resources, which indicates illustration, meaning that we are going to give multiple facts and examples to support our argument as true. And the argument that we have is that Central Piedmont has resources to help students be successful. So our main argument is that we're helping students to be successful, and we're using the resources that CPCC provides to sustain that argument. So then this is really nice because the next thing is going to be B, and this is ultimately for the body of your paragraph. And the body of your paragraph is going to be made up of details. Your A is again your topic sentence. Now again, for right now, this particular paragraph, we're going to go ahead and build a paragraph that has 8 sentences. So we're going to build 1 topic sentence, 1 conclusion sentence, and 6 detail sentences in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to number out. Now typically in a Word document this would be top to bottom, but because I'm doing this on technically a whiteboard that's rectangular and landscape, I'm going to do them side by side. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, Actually, I probably need more space. Let's try again. I'm going to pull this one down a little further. And then 5. And then 6. Okay? So, if I go back to my previous slide, I already began to formulate what I like together. So I have library, labs, I have the academic learning center, advisors, instructors, and classes. Now, to be honest, I would probably like to put classes last in my order of importance, but you're going to decide what your order of importance is as you formulate your outline. And again, because it's handwritten, we can do some erasing and moving around. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start first with the library. Okay, and I'm going to erase this number 2 right here, and I'm going to put it down a little bit lower. And notice again that I'm clearly drafting this as we go. Now, I'm familiar enough with this topic, I've taught it enough times, but ultimately you guys can do the same thing you see me doing and go through and just kind of do it. So my number 1 is going to be the library. And then number 2 were the labs. Number 3 was the academic learning center. Number 4 was, I think it was advisors. Number 5 were instructors, right? And then the last one was classes. So I'm going to go back over here because this is what we do as writers. We do need to remember that we've got to check our work just like you would in math or in any other class. So we're going to check it really quickly and make sure that it's library, labs, academic learning center, instructors, advisors, classes. And ultimately, on your own desk at home, you would have these side by side, and you would constantly be working with them side by side. Now, let's say that in the library that I now need to list the resources I have and how they do that. So that's where these little sub pieces come in, okay? And so that's where this is very, very, very important. And this is also why we don't create sentences right now. We're not going to create something that we could possibly toss in the trash. So we're going to do very minimal amount of organization to make sure that we can check off this resources button over here and make sure that we can check off our argument here. And that's what's going to help us to do. That's what these little pieces are for, is the how or why it's doing it. So if I look at my library, I can say that I have librarians, and I think one of them was, oops, online research sources, right? And even though it seems easy enough to leave out and assume the reader can get it, if I just say that CPCC has libraries, then typically your reader's next question is, so how does that help a student be successful? And you say, oh, well, because it has librarians and online research. And you're like, okay, and you're like, okay, well, if they have librarians and to assist with online research, then students can complete their research assignments. So this is different than just saying that this is a good school. We're saying that these resources help students to be successful. And when we think about a measure of success at the college level, one of the first ways you work towards being successful is to make sure your assignments are completed, preferably to turn them in 2, but that's kind of like leading the horse to water. So here we're going to offer the water to the horse, and then the horse has to deliver it to the trough. All right, we're going to leave that for now. Okay, so the Academic Learning Center. Clearly that was, there we go. All right, so the Academic Learning Center. So if we look at what the academic oh wait, I'm skipping one, I apologize. Let's go down to here to computer labs. So notice that the labs have, let's say, computers and printers and for the purpose of typing papers and maybe submitting assignments. Okay, notice that one's getting kind of long, A, B, C, D. So I may end up having to trim some of this. Typically you want to stick to an A, B or an ABC format. When we start to get A, B, C, D, then we're starting to make it somewhat difficult to begin to create the sentences that we need to create. Okay, let's say the Academic Learning Center has tutoring and then also has test prep. And, you know, for testing and skills. Does everybody see how that's working? Clearly my handwriting is really going now. Let's try one more time. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And then advisors, you know, which, you know, ultimately we'll say course help to continue the degree. That one may be a little hard to argue. Then we have instructors are available to teach. And we'll say meet with students to help understanding. Clearly I'm running out of room here, I apologize. And then classes, we could say that, you know, that we have multi-level, such as developmental classes to teach and earn basic skills for prereqs. All right. So now at this point, if I really want to look at it, these are going to be my main idea, okay? And these are my supporting sub details, but you should be able to see now that ultimately what I'm formulating is I'm formulating, you know, my first sentence of my paragraph. Then I've got my second sentence. Then I'm starting to really test my skill here now. My third sentence. My fourth sentence. And I do encourage you to do this. If you'll pause your video for just a minute, do this on your own paper, because then that way you know that you're creating one entire sentence from each of these, which is going to require some compound and complex sentence structure. Lost my mouse for a minute. There we go. And the last one. Now you'll notice there is one sentence missing from this outline. And that is ultimately that we should have our little C all the way down here at the bottom that we have yet to formulate. But right now that's not a priority, because ultimately the easiest way to think about a conclusion is that it's the wrapping in a gift. So you're not going to be able to wrap the gift until everything is in the box. But the only way you can choose the wrapping paper is to make sure that everything in the box goes together. If they're all Christmas presents or all birthday presents, then the wrapping on the box is really easy. But if you have a Christmas present mixed with a Valentine's Day present, mixed with an Easter present, mixed with a birthday present, then your brain can't deal with that, and it can't wrap that gift. So if you've ever said, oh yeah, Mrs. Case, I totally suck at conclusions, then I'm going to tell you that you've spent a lot of time putting a bunch of different gifts in the same box, and your brain wouldn't allow you to wrap it. So this outline is one of the best ways to make sure that you can say Christmas gift, Christmas gift, Christmas gift, so on and so forth, and you know that all the gifts in the box are all of the same theme, and so therefore we'll get the same paper. Okay? So once we've done this and we've sketched out what we're doing for our outline, then we can begin to formulate what our sentences would look like. Now, typically at this point, I would tell you that this outline now needs to be typed up. Once you've gone through and you've checked to make sure that everything in this box belongs in this box together, and you may go through this like I like the advisors, but they're weird, like something's not working with it. So I may decide later that I don't like the advisors as part of this outline, and I'm going to choose to do the bookstore instead or something like that, and add that as a resource. So if I choose to make changes, now is when I want to do it, before I start creating sentences, because the sentences take some creative genius, and you don't want to spend that time and that creativity on something that you're going to delete in just a few minutes. So this is the moment to check it. And this is again why it's only fragments or phrases, okay? So from this point forward, then we're going to begin to formulate our sentences, okay? After we've of course typed the outline, but for the sake of this lecture, I'll just continue handwriting what I'm doing, even though it's interesting, okay? Thank you very much.